Good morning and welcome to the Daily Tanya. Today is Wednesday, Rosh Chodesh, Teves, the first day of Teves, a good Chodesh. It is the seventh day of Hanukkah. And let's begin with Tzedakah. Gedola, Tzedakah, Shemekarebes Geula, Tzedakah brings Mashiach closer. And today we're going to finish the chapter 5 in Tanya. And we started yesterday. The Alter Rebbe explains the unique connection we have with Hashem through studying of the Torah. And we explained that when you're, with any intellect, when you connect something intellectually, when you understand something, you are being enveloped and you envelop the concept. And when you do that with the Torah, which is God's wisdom, you become united with Hashem. Alter Rebbe now goes on to continue to explain that this is a reason why Torah, in a way, has an advantage in terms of connecting with Hashem over any other mitzvah. And he explains, because what are the mitzvahs? The mitzvahs are when you nullify yourself to Hashem and you do Hashem's will. When you put on tefillin, you bring God's will upon you. You do Hashem's act. But it's not something that affects you within inside. It's not something that changes you inside. You connect, you're nullified to Hashem's will, and you do Hashem's act. And that is why the mitzvahs are like garments that you wear that encompasses you. When you study Torah, this is something that you take inside, and it changes you inside when you understand. Now in Torah, there is part of the mitzvah in Torah is just to read the Torah, read the words even without understanding. When you read the Torah, that's also a mitzvah. It speaks the words of the Torah, specifically the biblical, the written Torah. But when you study Torah and you understand it, there is a special mitzvah of knowing the Torah. When you know the Torah, you know God's wisdom, and your mind becomes one, and this becomes part of your reality. And this is, in general, the idea of what the Alter Rebbe teaches us to internalize the understanding with Hashem. That's what is called Chabad, Chochma Bina Das. The movement the Alter Rebbe started is understanding godliness, and through this changing within us. There was once one of the Hasidim of the Alter Rebbe. He mentioned to the Alter Rebbe that there was a Chassid of a different Rebbe, their approach was not so much in to study and understand the depth of Chassidus, but more of getting inspired from the tzaddik. Seeing when you're in presence of when you're in the presence of a tzaddik, you see a holy man, you get inspired. When you see a holy man doing, studying, praying, in the presence of a tzaddik, you are inspired. And he told Alter Rebbe, look, the other guy look how he's praying in presence of a tzaddik. He's fire. You get inspired and you do the same. And Alter Rebbe told him that this is true, but it's only true temporarily, while he's in the presence of the tzaddik. What happens when he goes away? He didn't change him. He remains the same person. But when you study and you understand, this become part of your mind, become part of your reality. God's wisdom becomes part of your understanding. And you study this, and when you study this in the purpose of connecting to Hashem, this is where you will become that changed person. That's why the Torah is considered like food that nourishes us. The food turns and becomes the blood, and becomes part of you. And the same thing, the Torah becomes part of us, Hashem's Torah. So let's see inside what the Alter Rebbe says. This is the distinction infinitely great and wonderful superiority of the mitzvah of knowing and comprehending Torah over any other mitzvah. I'll call them mitzvahs ma'asiyos, over all the mitzvahs involving action. Va'afilu ha-mitzvahs atluyas b'dibo, and even over those performed through speech. Va'afilu al-mitzvahs talmud Torah sheb'dibo, indeed even over the mitzvah of oral Torah study. When we're saying oral Torah study, we're not talking about that oral Torah, we're talking about the written Torah, but studying it orally. So, knowing and understanding the Torah has an advantage over all other mitzvahs and over mitzvahs that you do in speech. And even it's a greater mitzvah, it's a greater connection, has an advantage over the mitzvah of studying Torah just orally without understanding. And he explains, because through all the mitzvahs performed in action and speech, God clothes the soul and envelops it with his light from head to foot, from the highest level to the lowest level. That's what happened with all the mitzvahs. Every part of your body becomes connected to Hashem. While in the case of the knowledge of Torah, apart from the intellects being clothed in divine wisdom, enveloped by divine wisdom, the divine wisdom is also within him, so that he envelops it. Through his intellect's comprehending, grasping, and encompassing whatever Torah knowledge it is capable of grasping and comprehending, each man according to his intellect and his capacity of knowledge and understanding in the Pardes HaTorah, which is the four modes of Torah interpretation, the Pshat, Remez, Drush, Sod that we discussed yesterday. And that's why the Alter Rebbe continues, and because of that, the Torah is therefore termed as bread and food of the soul. Since through the knowledge of Torah, the Torah is absorbed in the soul and intellect of the person and is encompassed within it, it is therefore called the bread and the food of the soul. Because just as physical bread nourishes the body when it is ingested and absorbed within it, and when it is transformed there into blood, and it becomes blood and flesh of one's own flesh. When this happens, and only then will the body live and be sustained. So when the food turns into blood, it becomes part of your blood, part of your flesh, and then you're being able to be sustained. The same thing is with the knowledge of Torah. You internalize it. It becomes part of your reality. Similarly, through the knowledge and comprehension of Torah, by the soul of a person who studies it well with the concentration of his intellect. To the point where the Torah is grasped by his mind and is joined with him so that they become one. And that is when it becomes food for the soul. The Torah thereby becomes food for the soul. It becomes inner life for it, from the fountain of life, the blessed Ein Sof from Hashem, who is clothed in his wisdom and Torah that are in the soul of the Torah student. This is the meaning of the verse, that the Torah is in my inner parts, which means that the Torah is food for the soul. It is similarly written in Etz Chaim that mitzvahs are the garment of the soul in the paradise. The mitzvahs are the garment, and the Torah is the food for the soul in paradise, in heaven. Now, the Torah, on the other end, is the food of the soul in paradise, which has engaged in Torah study for its own sake during their life on this earth. It is similarly written in Zohar Vayakel, page 210. So when you study Torah lishma, for the sake of Hashem, so what does it mean for the sake of Hashem? When you study Torah, what is the purpose that you study? It's important to study Torah to know what to do. But the main reason of studying Torah is to connect to Hashem, to connect your soul to Hashem. The meaning of Torah study for its own sake is study within the inner intent, with the intent of binding one's soul to God by comprehending the Torah. Each man according to the capacity of his intellect, as explained in Pri Etz Chaim. No matter how much you're able to understand, when you use your intellect to understand the Torah deeply, that is how you connect. Now, the food of the soul refers to the level of the indwelling light. The garment refers to the level of the encompassing light. And that's why our sages tell us that the Torah weighs or is equal to all the mitzvahs combined. Why? Because Torah has both advantages. It is also God's wisdom, which is the garment of the soul, and it is also the food because we understand it and connect to it. For this reason, our sages have said that the Torah study is equal to all other mitzvahs combined. Because the mitzvahs are garments alone, while Torah is food and also garment for the intellectual soul. So the Torah serves as garment because one clothes himself within it by his soul's concentration on it and study of it. And especially when you study Torah, it's not just when we study Torah, we also verbalize the Torah. The verbalization, the saying the words, also creates another action of connecting to Hashem, and becomes the action of saying the words of Hashem, of the Torah, becomes the encompassing light. How much more so if one expresses the words of Torah orally? For the breath of the speech becomes a kind of encompassing light, as written in Pri Etz Chaim. So we thus see that the Torah study possesses the quality of both food and garments. That is why it is superior to the other mitzvahs, which are garments alone. So this is the end of chapter 5. It is actually the end of the description of the godly soul. And tomorrow we're going to start learning about the other soul, the animal soul. So wishing you all a good Chodesh and happy Hanukkah. Don't forget, tonight we light the 8th candle of Hanukkah. All the best. And we'll see you tomorrow, B'ezrat Hashem.